Okay, good afternoon, evening, and probably morning for some of you. Welcome to another take of the Kubernetes Release Team 118 meeting. I am your host for this call, and before we get started, a new day, so a new reminder that we have a code of conduct, which essentially boils down to please be nice to each other, don't be a jerk. And with that, before we actually get started, if there is anyone in the crowd that will be willing to take notes for this meeting, it will be highly appreciated. And with that, let's get started. Let's start with the enhancements. Jeremy, take it
Hello,
away.
happy Monday. So we are still tracking as green. There hasn't been much change since last week, but there was like one fairly big change that I'll bring up. So we're still tracking 50 items, but one item we dropped tracking last week. So there's a KEP number 7, or an issue number 785, and it's an issue for tracking graduation to beta. It's not like the whole issue or the whole enhancement. It's just like going to beta. And they're not going to do that this time around. There is a related change in another issue that I forgot to drop in here. So there will be a major change within the current alpha version. So it'll go from like a V1 alpha 1 to alpha 2. But because that issue is not graduating to beta, we're not tracking that anymore. So that would have dropped us to 49. But there was also a late breaking request for exception last week. And you can see that down there. It's number issue 1539. It's changed to huge page, which is stable. They're going to make some changes that shouldn't be breaking any like backwards compatibility or anything. They had most of the work done already. They just hadn't updated their KEP. Instead of making a new one, they're updating the existing one that's graduated. Probably some process things we could discuss later on. But because of that, we are back to 50 things that we're tracking. We've gone through and we've started pinging everybody to remind them of code freeze. It looks like Docs has done the same for the placeholder PRs. So current status is we're tracking 50 things. 18 will be alpha, 16 beta, and 16 stable. Any questions?
One quick question.
Yep.
I feel like I don't remember the name of the person who requested the exception for the huge pages, but I think I saw a comment from they on the SIG release channel, and I think it was something along the lines of, do they need to do anything else? They should be all set, right?
Yeah, they're on schedule now.
Okay, sweet. Anyone has any other comments, questions, suggestions, criticisms?
Yeah, around the enhancement stuff, but I guess I don't know if we take that in another forum. Essentially, the confusion for the huge pages stuff was around whether they do updates to that KEP or create a new one. And I think that we should be fine saying that if something is, like moving forward at least, if something is graduated, then an addition on top of it should be a new thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that's one of the things I wanted to bring up at the SIG release meeting today, but I couldn't come to it. I think we should document that so that it's really clear for people.
Yeah, we're actually working through a set of changes to KEPs. I don't know if you saw that issue come by, but Tim Hawken and I have been discussing some updates, and coming soon. I think Jeremy, if you don't mind putting that in the future topics for the next SIG release meeting, and we can dive into it. I don't want to blow up this meeting.
Yeah.
Steven, what's the issue that you were talking about?
What?
What was the issue? You mentioned that there's an issue between you and Tim Token, probably?
Yeah, hold on. It's here. I just dropped it in the chat.
Thank you. Other than that, anyone has any more comments, questions? If not, let's move on to Nico.
Hello, everyone. So we are red, but we were almost explode during the night because Voskos had a really bad day, and unfortunately there was no one to take care of it because in the West time zone in the US, everybody were in sleeping mode. Luckily, Voskos was resolved itself, so all jobs started to recover, and that's why master blocking we don't have any failing jobs because all the jobs will recover after the course was fine. Only 9 flaky jobs that are reported via test grid. Most of the jobs are failing in the master informing dashboard. 5 flaky jobs reported by test grid as well, and there are kappa conformal stable master and kappa G conformal stable. Those started failing recently. There was one potential fix opened, but I'm not sure if that actually fixed the job. But both of those jobs are under investigation. So I hope the next days that will be fixed. We'll continue monitoring them as well. Okay, so GC Ghostmaster Reboot. This is really old one, and we don't have any actually response from cloud provider team. I tried to ping them a couple of times. I don't know if why it's taking so long. I don't know. Maybe we need to take another look on that. I will try to ping them again today, and maybe I will try to understand the reason why this job is like failing so long and no one take a look.
So I have so many things to say. First, for the cause master tests, or the cause tests in general, any test listed under SIG GCP, SIG cloud provider GCP is effectively unmaintained. I think that's the nicest way to put it. When cloud provider, when SIG GCP rolled under, they were effectively in maintenance mode before rolling under cloud provider. So those tests had no maintainers before, and they're just continuing along in the same state. So I don't know who you're trying to ping, but it's probably the wrong person.
No, I'm trying to ping the whole team, so I'm trying to find someone to take care of it. So
you could reach out to Dims. Dims has been working on some of that stuff.
Okay, super. Thanks for the advice. I'm going to ping Dims after the meeting about this one. Super. Okay, so the master serial is failing as well. So it's there's like a week that someone assigned the issue to him, but there's no other activity after this. I hope that someone will take a look eventually. Okay, so Ubuntu master container D started failing I think today or 2 days ago. It's under investigation. There will be like some response to the issues. Container D master 2019 Windows. This job is still in work in progress. I have the comment here. You can check. They promised us that they are going to finish the job soon enough. So I don't consider that as a blocking, this one. And GC Windows 1909 master, it's starting failing as well. We don't have any response. I pinned Sigurdo's team, but it's quite a new failure as well. In the release miss dashboard, okay, so we have this CIP auditor E2E. This is a SIG release job. I let Stefan know as well, so it seems that it's under investigation right now. Teams also and other guys have been notified. Thanks, Stefan, about that. All right, and for 1.17 blocking and informing, those there are 2 tests that are failing, which is like the same reason with the master informing jobs as well. We have a couple of flaky jobs that we have open issues about. There are people that are trying to take a look on those. Also, I want to mention also that recently we update our docs, and we see a Signal team where we'll be responsible also for the merge blocking summits in the Kubernetes Master branch. So we're going to keep trying to detect all the flakiness of all the jobs. That will be like really hard. Also, I want also to ask you guys that if it's like a good idea that if we can notify that if someone will have any flakiness in his PR, so we can just make sure to ping the CI Signal team. That will help a lot because we are trying to detect the flakiness, and this is really hard, and we can't do it with test grid, so we're using the different tools, Velodrome and monitoring and triads tool, which is really hard to detect actually flakiness on a pre-submit job, which you have to understand that it's not like human caused. There are a couple of PSAs here. Jordan let us know here that there was like a cause that was causing some jobs to flake, and it seems that someone is working on it, and it's likely resolved. So the next days we are hoping to see less flake jobs. That's good news. Also, George, you paste here that the Voscos issues that I just mentioned. Also, I paste also the issue that Teams opened during the night, but it's still open. But I think that Voscos is fine now, so we can just close it. It seems that Voscos survived by himself. So, any questions?
So +1 to all of the stuff you said. Thank you for putting up the pre-submit the updates to the CI Signal docs. I sent an email that I think the subject is flaky tests that talks about some of the stuff, and Jordan and Ben have jumped on that. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing flake-wise is actually related to infrastructure, and not so much the jobs themselves. Still keep an eye on all of the flakes. Again, the Boscos things should start to settle out. The ones regarding resource contention should start to settle out as well. Yeah, the container D one that you mentioned, the Ubuntu container D one, that test is new. So that's Dim's tweaking that test. He's working on that over the weekend. So that should settle out soon. I think I just saw a PR merge for that. So I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. Super. Thanks, Stephen.
Some additional notes on that. For the master reboot test, have you or anyone from CI Signal had time to go through the test? Are they actually about testing the kubelet or some other component after a node is restarted? Or is that still unknown?
No, I didn't take a look. I don't think that anyone else had took a look as well. But since there is no maintainer, so it will make sense that we can find time to check it out. Maybe we can just resolve the issue as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I will take a look. I will try.
Mm-hmm. Please, something useful is that I think one of those tests was actually moved. It's a bit of history. There were a couple files within the test subdirectory that were initially written by cluster lifecycle. I don't know if Reboot might be one of these, but they actually have some names that imply that they're testing some feature, but they're actually testing something else. And something useful that we can do before we get in touch with teams and ask for more help is to actually verify whether those end-to-end tests are actually testing anything related to reboots. If they are not, and it's something really trivial like pod was restarted and tried to do something, we might there might be some way of replicating the signal, or just we might be able to just delete the end-to-end job If not, then it might also be necessary to get some cluster API type job that actually does this.
Well, if we have,
yes.
sorry to interrupt, if we, like I Signal, have permissions in creating jobs in the cluster, we'll be able to debug our stuff or maybe rerun the necessary jobs. So maybe this is another discussion for another time to put through that. Maybe we can just gain some permissions in a cluster as a CI Signal team. I don't know.
So we should not have access to rerun most jobs. So people who should have access to rerun jobs, I think I have a PR open to talk about adding some of SIG release to access to rerun certain jobs. But those jobs would be the CI, Kubernetes, both the basal and non-basal build things, the ones that produce version markers. Until there is some sort of policy around what is safe to test, what is safe to rerun I don't want anyone having that power.
Yeah, actually, I had the discussion with the testing team. Right now, Pro doesn't support that. So Pro just give access to a certain team that he can just rerun any job that he can, right? But if we can just be able to inject a specific label in a specific jobs and just to deny reruns on those particular jobs, and I think that would be like really, really good for us because we don't want to mess around with these jobs, right? So, but after this feature will be in Pro, we'll have to make a list in which jobs we can rerun and which was not, and we could just inject this label to those jobs, and we have like a safe procedure. But we can now.
That sounds interesting. At least being able to rerun jobs. I think that's more in the SIG testing scope. Within this issue, what we can do is every single job in test grid and the like, it has a link to its proud job configuration, and within the arguments, it tells you what end-to-end how it chooses what end-to-end jobs to run. What we can do, one of the things that we can do is if we go through the source code and find the actual end-to-end jobs in KK, if we go through the source code, if we read the labels and the description of it, we can know whether it is actually testing what it's supposed to be testing, or if not. And then based on those labels, we can either add a bit of a label to another job to also include this, or something else. But at least as we're talking about this, sounds like we should chat in Slack and see what we can do with this. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Let's don't spend more time in this meeting about this. So let's do it.
Also, fun tidbit: the issue for the Boscos failure, apparently something inside of Google broke, and I don't think we're gonna get that much more information about it. But yeah, it seems to be fixed.
Yeah.
Other than that, anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions, criticisms for CI Signal or related to CI Signal? Okay. Before we move on, I actually forgot to mention something at the beginning of the meeting. Happy birthday, Steven.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Stephen.
We should bring a cake, right? To blow some candles. Yeah?
Bring one to Amsterdam.
Then, if nobody else, if everybody else got their happy birthdays in already to some other medium, we can now go to bug triage. John, are you around?
I am. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Skarbek. I'm one of the shadows for the bug triage team. Our status this week is green. For everything that we're tracking, we're on a nice downward trend. So I'm not going to repeat all the numbers that are listed in the agenda item, but for everything, we're on a nice downward trend. For everything, there's a a good minus delta for all issues that we are currently tracking. So for this week, we are going to continue pinging any stale issues or PRs that are hanging out there. And secondly, we're going to be working with Taylor on defining what a milestone is. And that's all I've got.
That sounds wonderful. Does anyone have any comments, questions, criticisms, concerns? I hear nothing, so let's move on to docs.
Hello everyone. Docs is right now working on tracking the enhancements. So far we have reached out to all the enhancements. Like me and my shadows have reached out to all the enhancements, seeking for a placeholder PRs, and we have almost like 25 to 30% of placeholder PRs in place, and we are awaiting for the response for the rest placeholder PRs. Considering February 28th as the deadline for placeholder PRs, maybe from next week we might reach out to the enhancements owners personally through Slack. And apart from that, I had a hard time syncing up release 1.17 and master branches because the localization work was carried out in release 1.17 branch, so it was creating merge conflicts. So Jim from SIGDocs has helped me. So luckily I just did a hard reset between master and release 1.17 branch. So we are good right now. Yeah, that's the update from docs.
What branch did you mention? Release 1.
Yeah, it's release 1.17. So it's basically a placeholder branch for the older releases.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments, questions, suggestions, concerns? Okay, so the only thing that I can add is, could you please write a small update about what you said in the notes?
Yeah, I was just updating. I'm already in the docs. I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And next up, release notes. Eddie. Or someone.
Hey guys, sorry. I'm trying to find the mute button. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got
Yeah, okay, perfect. Cool. So everything is green with us. Alpha 3 the PRs were merged for both K SIG release notes, which is a release notes draft, and K / release, SIG - release. It gets very confusing, which is the website for rel notes. So both of those have been merged. There were 3 open issues from last meeting. Those have all been closed, including the 1.17 known issues release notes. So that should have been closed on the 1.17 release. There is a new 1.18 known issues that needs to be closed out once we do a 1.18 release as well. So we'll try to figure out a way to automate that, but that's kind of the process right now. And we are running the new release notes, which changes everything to kind. And then I think the only other thing that we have to worry about is maybe get some time, Stephen, with my team to see if you can discuss with us exactly what the changes will be to the KREL plugin, so that we know what we need to do to update documentation and what processes are still missing once the updates release happens.
So we discussed on the SIG release call earlier today. James is going to be on that.
Okay, perfect.
James and Sasha is on the call too. Yeah, they'll. Okay.
Yeah, so James is on my team. I'll let James run that point on that one, because I know he was back and forth, and I don't know if he was able to make it today to this call. So that's perfect. As long as he's got it, and then we can move forward with that, then we're all green, waiting for RC1.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm here. I got that. Sorry, Eddie, I forgot to update you after the call earlier.
No worries. Thanks, James.
Sweet. Any more comments, questions? Next up, comms.
Yes, so we're currently green. We reached out last week to the 6 and received already plenty of feedbacks, waiting for the last ones to give us some hints what we should have a look on. We also start the communication with the CNCF, block a webinar time slot for the 1.18 release. I think it will be somewhere in the mid of April. And we are also going to reach out in the couple of the next days also to CNCF to schedule the release blocks, the press embargo, as well as the interviews, the analyst pre-briefings, and the press, and so on. So starting the comms work.
Sounds fun. Anyone has any comments, questions, suggestions?
So I made the suggestion last cycle that due to our miscommunication with timelines and everything, that comms CC the release team leads and SIG chairs on all external communications. I'm not sure if I saw anything in my mailbox, but if you have, then fine. If you haven't, forward the emails over as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll take it with me.
Another thing to follow up that is that bit of information is somewhere in the handbook. Do you know?
The exactly what?
CC release leads and chairs.
I think currently not.
Oh, can we add it to the handbook, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Any more comments, questions, suggestions? Okay. Thank you very much for the update. And now on to Carlos.
Hey, hello. Good evening, good morning. My name is Carlos, helping the release branch. Tomorrow it's expected we cut the alpha 4, but we have like a blocker issue that is not fully fixed right now. Maybe Stephen can give more details, but this is not building the correct, generating the correct tag for we cut the release.
Yeah, so the TLDR, at least for now, is the way that we bump the build versions. I mean, there are lots of different things that are intertwined that determine how we coalesce a build version. If the build version that we're about to trigger in a Nago is behind the tag that's published already, it will fail. And it's not happening on the patch release branches right now, but it is happening on master. So there was a job failure that I noticed not too long after we did the Alpha 3 release that I'm guessing is related to that. I'm investigating today, well, later today, hopefully after this call. So we'll keep you posted. But for now, the release is blocked until we've solved that. So.
Thank you. Anyone has any comments, questions?
Thanks, Stephen.
Oh, one more comment. Daniel will be cutting the Alpha 4 release. Yeah, there he is. We've made him a release manager associate as of last week. Yeah, he's been doing a lot of the work that release manager associates are tasked with, and we realized that he wasn't one already, so it made sense to add him. So congrats, Daniel.
Congratulations on the promotion. Anyone has any more comments, questions? Okay, I see nothing other than we're gonna get some batteries for Steven. And moving on to Emeritus Lead, please give us wisdom.
Thanks, George. Just ordering batteries for Stephen. That's my main update. No, I've drafted the mid-release shadow survey. I just need to follow up with the leads and make sure that's okay to send out. So that's to track how everybody's doing in their shadow roles and making sure that they're supported. So I'll send that out in the next week or so. And that's it from me. Thanks, George.
Thank you. Quick question. Last week, we briefly made mention of an existing issue about retrospective for shadows, which is essentially a retrospective for how well the shadowing is going instead of how well the release actually went. Have you taken a look? Do you have any comments, thoughts at the moment?
I haven't widely discussed it. My opinion is we don't need another meeting. if we can capture it in the retro, but I'm not sure that we, I think this is a good touch point for this release, but if we feel we need another place to judge feedback or gauge feedback, I should say, on the shadows, we can potentially open that up. But given that we're adding the shadow survey mid-release, I think that'll be a first indication of whether we think that we're supporting the shadows well enough. And I would encourage all the shadows to turn up and voice their opinions in the retrospective as well at this point. But happy to discuss. If anybody has an interest in that, please ping me.
Okay, sounds perfect. Thank you so much for that update, and it's my time, I guess. So upcoming milestones. The Alpha 4 release. We'll figure it out at some point, hopefully. So other than that, code freeze. Now, from now until the release, until code freeze, every single time that I see any one of you, I'm gonna be reminding you that code freeze is coming. At some point today, I'll send out an email to remind the rest of the community that code freeze is coming, because code freeze is coming. And other than that, I don't have any more updates. Things seem to be going well. So I'm gonna make a brief stop for someone to make a comment, question, or suggestion before I move on to scalability updates.
Is code freeze coming?
Yes, it is.
Just checking.
I'll send you an invite so you make sure. That's gonna be part one of your celebration. By the way, it's a multi-day party. So other than code freeze coming, let's see what scalability has for us. And I'm just gonna read them because I haven't seen them in the. So there were some transient failures of singular test of master scale correctness, scalability, master release informing test, but last runs are green, master scale performance is green. So it looks like this might be related to the Boscos failures. I saw a bunch of alerts, and every single one of them was failing on a stage related to the infrastructure. And they were also showing up for the 115 and 116 branches, which I don't think we have merged anything super big into those branches. And the next item is all smaller scale 100 nodes tests are currently stale due to issues with Boscos. Okay. So hopefully those are just gonna keep on running and we're gonna get more results. Is there anything that anyone in the audience at this moment would like to say to scalability, or I guess pass it along? Sweet. So before we move on to the project board, there are a couple issues that we mentioned last meeting. If anybody is interested in any of these, please take a look, comment. The first one is just handbook updates. I still need, I got some notifications, and probably some other people did as well. So just go through handbook updates if you have them up. If not, then I guess there's nothing to do other than that. Kubernetes early support period cap and increase Kubernetes support window to 1 year. If you have time, please take a look at those issues, caps, and provide and give us some feedback. And if everyone is cool with it, let's go to the board and find some issues for everyone to work on. Let me start by sharing screen. Okay. Let me refresh the page to make sure I get the latest. And let's go with in progress. Let's start with review in progress. We have a couple things in here. Add information about what qualifies for a milestone. And this was mentioned by the bug triage team just a bit ago, and Taylor is going to be working with them. and investigated automation to facilitate tracking spreadsheets. Let's see what's the latest on this. Nothing from the last 7 days, but Jeremy and Bob are assigned to this, so we can check in with them later. And I think both of them left. So let's think that in progress is good to go. Next couple issues. Track enhancements sleep across multiple releases. Last we check, nothing to do for this one. We are going to see what happens this release and then compare. And document reason for inclusion of release blocking jobs. Daniel and I are working on this. I also pinged the CI Signal channel to see if more people wanted to jump in on this. But this one is also still a work in progress, so there's not much to say for that one. 117 gift. I'm gonna ping Wind after this and see if she's gonna give people more gifts.
I have an update for that. So we've been working with the our swag masters, basically, the people who get that stuff together every cycle. And what we're going to do is create a store, right? So similar to the CNCF store, there'll be like a release team store that will have multiple editions, right? So depending on what release team you're on, you'll eventually get a promo code or a set of promo codes to distribute to your team, or you'll get one individually, and you'll be able to go into the store and pick your item and choose your sizes and all that good stuff. So we're working on that in the background. Should have something to share by next week, maybe. All told, for anyone who was on the 117 team, you should hear something or have swag in hand for Amsterdam if you're going to Amsterdam.
That sounds good. I like the idea. And I guess that's one note. Let's move on to the others. Document Kubernetes release team Google. I have an open PR for this one, and I'll send it. Actually, I just have the code for it. I need to actually push it to make the PR, but that one is, I'll get that across today. Halo process, I think Lucky just left the meeting, right? But there's something about working on project board items. And then update release team handbooks. I think that people are working on this, and I'll go through this and update them. I was actually pinged on a couple reviews, so I think some of this might be done. Let's see, so ensure and RT lead handbook includes an item for adding release retrospective. I also have a thing for that one, and I just need to push it. 117 release retrospective, 116 release retrospective, and Kubernetes yearly support period. That's going to be long-term issues. Moving on to do, try splitting release schedule out of release split playbook. I commented on this. Let's see. So last time I commented on this with the stuff that we talked about last meeting, and yeah, there's nothing new in there. Puerco is gonna be helping out with this.
Yeah, I'll check it. I'll take a look at the PRs that you suggested there.
Okay, thank you. And
so yeah, so my thought there is that if we can find a way to, if we have headings within the current timeline that's in the README, right, they can link out to a exploded version of that timeline, right, that says like, okay, well, these are the tasks that each of these roles should be doing at any one time. And then those headings could then lead to the handbook. I don't know if that is too messy, but that's like when I saw the issue update, that's the first thing that came to mind. So
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, think so too. So Porco, are you good to go on that?
Yes, I'll try and start gathering the schedules for every role and start working on something.
Okay. Also, I have to double check. Do you find it insulting that I call you? Do you mind if I call you Porco, or is there some other name that you will be like to be referred?
Of course, that's the way everyone calls me. So
Okay, just wanted to double check. Thank you. Async release team project. I believe the last update on this was from 5 days ago. And David mentioned that the possibility of building a tool that will essentially put together a bunch of clips, and we could then publish that in the SIG release YouTube playlist. If anybody, especially anybody not from the US, that that can attend this meeting, if y'all have any ideas, if you actually like this proposal, please drop in here, put an emoji. I'll make sure to ask for emojis on this issue afterwards on Slack, because I feel like the people who are not able to actually make this meeting, the people who might find this issue more interesting, might not be able to make this meeting. So other than that, please put your comments, suggestions in here. And moving on to the doc handbook. There's something close. Okay, so nothing jumping out right now. CI signal, there's one that's been merged, two that have been merged. Nico, are you still online?
Yeah, I just comment that I didn't update this issue, so I think that this would be helpful. I opened 2 PRs to update the handbook. I don't know if more things we need to update as well. So maybe we can just close this issue, or we can just discuss for further updates.
Okay. So yeah, I was just gonna say that if you feel that this is good, at least for right now, it's up to you whether you want to keep it close or if you're working on something else.
I think that it's good. We can close it.
Okay.
We include also the pre-submit dashboards there, and some details about how to hunt flakes. So I think that for now this is really good.
Okay, so since you're saying that right now, might as well help you out. And communications handbook, the pending one. Is there anyone from communications that wants to give an opinion on this one? I hear nothing, so I'll ask later. And update release team selection doc. Let's see, the last activity, December 8th. And assigned to win, Lucky and myself. And what is this issue? The release team selection doc contains outdated information and draft selection criteria. I need to update it to include only final criteria and to have an extensive section on shadow selection. This sounds like something someone in my team or Lucky could take a look at. But actually, is anyone interested in working on this right now? If not, then Lucky or some Taylor or Bob or myself can work on it. Going once, twice, and sold. And that was the to-do column. Let's see, create a shadow in retrospective. Lucky just mentioned that with the mid-release survey, we might get enough information to actually essentially close this one out. But if you're interested in and have some other idea of how to give feedback, please drop your comments in here. Any section leads, I want to say please pass this issue along to your shadows. The opportunity to provide us with some feedback. Handling the exceptions, YAML files. Is there anything on this one? October 28th, it was determined in release team meeting on some date that this is in fact why we track enhancements, exceptions separately. Okay, so currently the enhancements lead for release team creates an exceptions YAML file to capture exceptions for the current release cycle. The idea was to eventually have a tool that will consume this and do something. I'm thinking that we can just leave it in the backlog for now. And
yeah, I think we were talking about leaving. Oh, yeah, okay, it is in the backlog. Yeah, I don't know what we want to do with that, and I think that's still true, which is why we moved it to the backlog.
Yeah.
So.
And the next one is block releases on non-synthetic clusters. Nico, have you taken a look at this one? Or is anyone in CI Signal taking a look at this one?
I think this is the one. Actually, I spoke with a guy, I don't remember his name. Never mind. So he was tracking these jobs in the Open Lab. I think this is the issue, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm waiting actually for some results, and he picked me 4 days ago, I think, and he told me that the job will start passing, but he's going to update the issue once everything's stabilized.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. And if there's any other information on your end, please feel free to drop a comment in here. If you think that we need more coverage, better coverage in some specific area.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to update the issue, and maybe we should have to include the Open Lab dashboards, because there's another link to that, so we can just detect our builds instead of test grid as well. But I don't think this is a good idea right now, but I'm going to have some kind of conversation with him, so I will update the issue.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll, depending on whatever updates you get, we can revisit this issue later. Right now, we were, since this issue was created, we were just waiting on an update to see if there was any more work to be done. And I guess we're still at that point. And I guess next issue, create a shadowing template for handbooks. And test Infra code freeze, scalability test, shadow application, and the next ones are again this issue. Already linked to it in the notes, but if you're interested and if you have any feedback, please go through increase Kubernetes support window to 1 year. The next one is for me and my shadows. And the last one is decide on a procedure for jobs, entering and leaving blocking. And we are putting that in the backlog until we figure out what to do with the CI Signal subproject from SIG release. So first issue, create a shadowing template for all handbooks. Okay, so revisiting this, the mid-release survey, we're waiting to get more information from it to see if there is anything else we need to do on this issue. Testing for code freeze, this is another request for comments. And this was part of the this was one of the action items from the 1.16 release retrospective, I believe. If anybody is interested in CI or test infra, please drop by, throw some ideas if something hasn't been mentioned in here already.
I don't think that it's going to work, right? I don't think that this infra they want to freeze. Actually, the way how the test infra team is contributing to their code, if they do some changes that are like breaking changes, they're trying to deprecate the old stuff first and give a distance of 6 months until the new configuration will be updated. So I don't think that Test Infra will actually break something in the infrastructure if it's not a mistake, right? So.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so we keep going back and forth on this one, and I don't know if it's at the bottom already, but I think essentially what I've said on a few meetings is that they will not do anything until we tighten this up. If this is something that we want to do, we have to determine what the scope of freeze means for them, right? We really only care about the things that are related to release. So maybe not bumping images like Kubikins images near the time that we're going to do things, right? But we have to determine what that scope is, and CI Signal needs to take those steps.
So in order to this issue has been open for a while, and even the discussion it goes way back before I created this issue. For the sake of not having an issue that is open for until the end of time, what would you all think? Will it be reasonable to ask the CI Signal team to take a look at this and chat with the SIG release chairs if there is anything that we still need for stability?
Yeah, that was supposed to be the next step. So if can you scroll to the bottom?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, CI Signal has to take point on this.
Okay, so just commenting this out. Nico, does that sound good with you?
Yeah. Actually, I will try to bring this up in the next SIG testing meeting, so we can just discuss with them right away about this one.
Before going to the meeting, I would want us to figure out what we want to freeze. Because they're going to want some sort of proposal.
Yeah, let's add more details in this issue. So, and in the next SIG testing meeting, I will be able to have more details about what to discuss with them, right?
Before you go to the SIG testing meeting, please do take some time. I know there's a lot, but please take some time to go through this issue. Actually, most of these comments are based on a conversation I had last release with SIG testing. So out of three conversations that we had about different possibilities for trying to enhance the stability of test infra during the more delicate parts of the release cycle. All the information that I thought was the most important, I tried to document it in here. So take a look at it. If anything sounds interesting, if anything sounds useful, things have changed a good amount since I wrote this. But yeah, if you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will take a look.
Okay, thank you so much. And the next one, I don't think there has been any comments. Never mind. 11 hours ago. Okay, so this is with respect to adding more, essentially more test, more scalability test. And I guess this is a big thing. We don't have resources to run this. Where SIG Scalability is working on speeding up their test. And once they have done this, they'll be able to leave the 1-day frequency. Okay, so there are actually, I wasn't aware of this. This is good to know. They're doing some work to speed up the test, or thinking about it. Resources. I noticed. I know we mentioned this at some point, but I don't think there was ever any clear answer. Will it be reason? And I think this is a question for you, Stephen. Will it be reasonable for us, say Signal, release team, to ask for CNCF resources to run more scalability jobs, or should we just worry right now about, I guess, more wait for them to speed up their test?
So yes, no, maybe so. So one, where do the tests run, right? If the tests are running on Google infrastructure, then then we're a little stuck there, right? And they almost definitely run on Google infrastructure, right? So that's the first part of it. Do we think we could get resources for running scalability tests on Kubernetes infrastructure? Yes, probably. Don't quote me on it. Don't record me. Wait. But I mean, but the bigger part of this is that we're on Google infrastructure right now. So if if the scalability tests were to move, then that could be a possibility. But I think in the meantime we're stuck. I mean, the bigger problem is that we don't know what not enough resources means, right? Or we don't have an estimate of cost or anything like that, right? So to move that forward, like, we would either have to have it in a place where we can introspect on the billing, or just kind of go along with what they've been doing.
So things that we could do to get an answer is catch up with Scalability to see if we can get some ballpark of resources, and with the Kate's working group to see if I guess Kate's working group and Scalability to see if we could actually try and move or build some testing CNCF infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so mental note for that one. And we have 2 minutes to discuss shallow application feedback.
Can we not make it a mental note and make it an actual note on the issue?
Yeah, definitely. I'll write that up right now. But I don't think there's any gain in you all seeing me type. And since we already ran for 59 minutes, I guess this is a good time to end the call. And with that, thank you very much to everyone, and happy Monday.
Later.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Please go change the batteries, for the love of Christ. Have a good one, everyone.
You too.